Hello and welcome to the Aussie Football Passport, your one-stop pod for updates on your favourite Aussie men and women who are playing their club careers abroad. I'm your host Alex, and let me wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. If you enjoyed the festive season a little too much and missed what's happening with our Aussies abroad, then don't worry because I've got you covered right here with this very podcast. While some leagues took winter breaks, others ramped up their schedule. So in this episode, I'll look to summarise it all for you and tell you what it means for players chasing Matilda's squad spot for the Asian Cup in March and a Socceroos squad spot for the World Cup in June. The headlines are up next. All right, let's start with transfer news because the transfer window is now officially open as of New Year's Day, and it has brought a couple of big signings, I would say. Mitchell Duke has left McGree and joined Macarthur FC in the A-League for the rest of the 2025-2026 season. This is due to the change in fixturing for the J-League, where they are aligning their season to begin mid-year, particularly in August, to align with European calendars, rather than the calendar year format that they just finished. Duke will be hoping this move pays off and he can keep his spot in the Socceroos squad for the upcoming World Cup. Now, staying in Japan with another Socceroos hopeful, it's Jason Geria who has re-signed with Albrechts Niigata in the Japanese second division. They are running a small sort of tournament running from February to June, I believe, February till May, I should say, in Japan, where it'll be in a regional format initially and then winners go through to the next round and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see because, I mean, obviously that's not for silverware that really means as much as what it would if they were playing for the J-League proper or the J2 League proper. So whether this move for Geria has ruled him out of the Socceroos, I think it probably has, but let's see what happens there. Now to a Matilda, Amy Sayer. She has signed a 3-year deal with Malmo FF in Sweden. She was without a contract for next season as her contract with Kristianstad expired at the end of last season. So a big move for Amy, and we wish her all the best there. Now to some other headlines, particularly in terms of national teams and the junior divisions. The Joeys, who are our under-17 side, they will play Fiji and Solomon Islands in a 3-match series later this month. The tour begins on Saturday, the 17th of January against Fiji in Fiji before moving to Honiara to take on Solomon Islands twice. The first game takes place on Tuesday the 20th and then the following game on Saturday the 24th. Carl Viet has named a 24-player squad, which is made up of players based in Australia predominantly. I think there's one player that is overseas based. The matches will provide key preparation for the Joeys ahead of May's AFC Under-17 Asian Cup in Saudi Arabia. And of course, we will cover that one on the pod later on in the year. The young Socceroos played in the SBS Cup in Japan just before Christmas. Unfortunately, it was a difficult tournament for our lads, losing all 3 games. 2-0 to Spain, 2-1 to Shizuoka, which is a district side, if you like, district rep side, and 2-0 to the Japan national squad. So the less said about that tournament, the better, I think it's fair to say. But it should be noted that that young Socceroos squad was fairly experimental and is looking to build for the next set of under-20s tournaments coming up in the years ahead. Now to the under-23 Socceroos squad, which has been named for their upcoming Asian Cup campaign in Saudi Arabia. The squad is headlined by overseas-based players James Overy, who of course plays for Manchester United, Jed Drew, who plays for TSV Hartberg, and Stephen Hall, who is in the Brighton and Hove Albion squad. This side has previously had the likes of Joe Gauci, Geordie Boss, Patrick Yazbek, Kasuni Yengi, Lewis Miller, Jacob Italiano, Nishan Valupale, Ryan Teague, Patrick Beach, Moture, and Kai Truan. All current or recent Socceroos, it should be noted. The tournament begins for our lads on Thursday, the 8th of January against Thailand, and you can watch that on Paramount+. Now to some unfortunate injury news, and it's Riley McGree, who went off in the 16th minute of Middlesbrough's 2-0 loss to Bristol City just before Christmas. He appeared to feel for his hamstring, and his coach has confirmed he will be out for the next couple of games for Borough, which is very disappointing. Speaking of injury-prone players, Ryan Strain looks like he has done a groin injury as well. He was substituted early on in a Dundee United game over the festive period. So we will keep you updated. There's no timeline on that injury either, but once we get further news, once those scans have been completed, we will bring that to you in the next episode. All right, that is it for the headlines. Next up, we'll go to the weekly wrap. Let's kick off the weekly wrap, as is tradition with our ladies in the USA. Well, one lady to be exact. It's Morgan Aquino, who kept a clean sheet, but it wasn't enough for DC Power to get the win as it ended scoreless with Carolina Ascent. The result means that DC go into the break sitting in 8th on the USL table, but due to the congestion in that table, they're more than a chance of climbing the ladder quickly and even winning the thing. All right, let's head to England, where whilst the WSL action has wrapped up heading into the winter break, there was some European Champions League action and League Cup action just before Christmas. So it began in Germany, where Chelsea defeated Wolfsburg 2-1. Sam Kerr and Ellie Carpenter both started for Chelsea in that one. Arsenal defeated OH Leuven 3-0 to secure a playoff against the same opponents in February. Caitlin Ford forced an own goal in the second half of that match. Steph Catley and Kyra Cooney-Cross both started for the Gunners, whilst Ford was a second half substitute coming on with full effect, helping with that third goal going in for Arsenal in that win. Then going to the League Cup action, Kyra Cooney-Cross picked up an assist as Arsenal defeated Crystal Palace 2-0. Cooney-Cross and Caitlin Ford started for Arsenal, whilst Steph Catley came on as a second half substitute. Manchester United came from behind against Tottenham to win 2-1 in League Cup action. Claire Hunt started and played the full game for Tottenham, whilst Charlie Grant remains unavailable due to a knee injury. Now to France, where Lyon defeated Fleury 3-0, and they will head into the winter break with a perfect 11-win record in the league. Wow. Incredible stuff. And in even more positive news, Tegan Micah got a rare start and played the full game in goals, keeping another clean sheet for her side. Now to Germany, where Eintracht Frankfurt defeated SGS Essen 4-1 to go into the winter break off the back of a win. Hayley Rasso came on as a second half substitute for Frankfurt. TSG Hoffenheim comfortably defeated Carl Zeiss Jena 5-1 to head into the winter break, only 1 point away from European qualification. Of course, still a long time to go. Jamila Rankin started as part of a back three before being withdrawn late in the second half. All right, now let's check in with our men overseas, and there's a lot of games to get through, so bear with me as we sort of jump around all over the place, but we'll start in the championship, where Lewis Miller produced a standout performance for Blackburn Rovers, playing a full game in defence as they won 2-0 against Millwall. The defender won 9 of his 11 ground duels and 2 tackles, helping his side keep their first clean sheet since early November. He then contributed to a clean sheet for Blackburn again. This time they drew 0 with Sheffield Wednesday. He played the full game for Blackburn, then in a 2-0 loss to Wrexham, before picking up an assist in a 2-2 draw with Charlton Athletic, playing the full game in that one. Now let's check in on Nesteri Irankunda, who came on after 76 minutes for Watford as they picked up a 1-0 win against Stoke City. He then came on after 66 minutes of Watford's 2-1 win over Leicester City. He then assisted Watford's last-minute winner against Norwich City after coming on in the 79th minute. And rounding out his games, he then played a half in Watford's 3-0 win against Birmingham City and provided a lovely assist to boot. And that one I have shared on our social media if you want to go and check that out. Hayden Matthews scored an own goal in his full game for Portsmouth as they drew 1-1 with Derby County. Callum Elder played a full game for Derby, whilst Adrian Segicic came on in the 66th minute for Portsmouth. Hayden Matthews then played a full game for Portsmouth as they drew yet again 1-1, but this time with Queen's Park Rangers, or QPR for short. Adrian Segicic came on in the 59th minute for Portsmouth in that one, whilst Daniel Benny remained on the bench for QPR, and with rumours that he is looking to move on to get some playing time. Hayden Matthews then played until the 64th minute of Portsmouth's 2-1 win against Charlton Athletic. Adrian Segicic picked up an assist in his full game in that one. Then Adrian Segicic backed it up by playing a full game for Portsmouth in their 5-0 loss to Bristol City. Hayden Matthews played 29 minutes, whilst a welcome return to Jacob Farrell via the bench. He didn't get any minutes, but great to see him on the bench. Portsmouth's game at the weekend was postponed due to the cold weather in the UK. Now, Cameron Burgess, he played a full game for Swansea City in a come-from-behind 2-1 win against Wrexham in the Welsh derby there. Despite scoring an own goal, the defender made 14 clearances, 2 blocks and an interception to help Swansea secure their 7th win of the season. Now, I hope he can keep up, because Cameron Burgess then put in a strong performance in defence despite Swansea City's 1-0 loss to table-topping Coventry City. Burgess then played all of Swansea City's 1-0 win against Socceroos United. He helped his side to another clean sheet in yet again a 1-0 win over West Brom, playing the full game in that one. And then Burgess played another full game at the weekend as Swansea went down to Millwall 2-1. Now, Callum Elder, he played a full game for Derby County in their 1-1 draw with Birmingham City. He then notched an assist in Derby County's 2-1 loss to Leicester City. He played a full game for Derby in their surprise 1-0 win over Middlesbrough. And in that one, Sam Silvera got 15 minutes off the bench. Rounding out the action for Callum Elder over the festive period, he played an hour as Derby lost 2-1 to Wrexham. Now, Sam Silvera, he scored in his full game for Middlesbrough as they beat Southampton 4-0. It was his first goal of the season, and we will share that one on our social media as well. Now, let's drop down a division to League One, where Alex Robertson came off the bench in the 80th minute for Cardiff City in a 3-1 loss to Chelsea in League Cup action. He then played 74 minutes, scoring an own goal as Cardiff lost 2-1 to Lincoln in League One action. He then scored his first goal of the season at the right end of the pitch this time as Cardiff beat Exeter City 1-0. Robertson played 79 minutes in that one. He then backed it up by coming on in the 83rd minute to help Cardiff City to a 2-1 win against Stevenage. He then got 27 minutes in Cardiff's 1-1 draw with Wickham Wanderers. Now, Rafael Borges Rodriguez continued his run of starts, playing a full game for Wigan Athletic in a 2-0 loss against Blackpool. He also picked up a yellow card in that game. Tyrese Francois was substituted on in the 76th minute of that game. Rafael Borges Rodriguez then played a full game for Wigan as they lost 2-1 to Bradford City. Tyrese Francois came on in the 72nd minute. Rafael Borges Rodriguez then played until the 89th minute of Wigan's 2-0 win against Burton Albion. Tyrese Francois played the full game. Then rounding out the action, well, there's actually 2 more games to cover for Wigan, but Rafael Borges Rodriguez played 66 minutes of Wigan's 1-1 draw with Barnsley. Tyrese Francois played the full game. Now, rounding out the League One action, there was a 1-1 draw between Wigan and Cardiff. Rafael Borges Rodriguez and Tyrese Francois both played full games for Wigan, whilst Alex Robertson played a full game for Cardiff. Now to Scotland, where Nicholas Milanovic and Kusuni Engi were both unused substitutes for Aberdeen against Garen Qual's Sparta Prague. Qual came off the bench at halftime and scored as Sparta cruised to a 3-0 win in Conference League action there. Then heading to Scottish League action, and Milanovic came on in the 82nd minute for Aberdeen as they drew 1-1 with Dundee United. Zach Sapsford started and played 73 minutes for Dundee United in that one. Aberdeen then went down 2-0 to Hibs. Nicholas Milanovic played 8 minutes as a substitute for Aberdeen, whilst Jack Iredale played the full game for Hibs, and Martin Boyle was a second-half substitute, playing 40 minutes for Hibs. Nicholas Milanovic then came on in the 80th minute as Aberdeen lost 1-0 to Falkirk. So it seems the change of manager, of course, Jimmy Thielen was sacked for Aberdeen, but it looks like it has opened the door for Milanovic to work his way back into the side. So fingers crossed for him. It doesn't look as good for Kasuni Yengi, who doesn't seem to even be in the matchday squad and potentially looking for a move. Ryan Strain, as we made mention earlier, he did get injured, but before that, he played a full game for Dundee United as they beat Celtic 2-1. Zach Sapsford scored the winner in that one, and it was a cracking goal. Martin Boyle scored Hibs' only goal in a 1-1 draw with Dundee United. Jack Iredale played a full game for Hibs. For Dundee United, Zach Sapsford started and played the full game, whilst Ryan Strain was substituted off in that one, picking up that groin injury. Jack Iredale played 52 minutes of Hibs' 3-1 win against Kilmarnock, whilst Martin Boyle was not in the squad for that one. Cameron Devlin, well, he's having some season, isn't he? But let's check in on what he's been up to in Scotland, because he played a full game for Hearts as they beat Rangers 2-1, a very important victory at the top of the table there for Hearts. He then scored in Hearts' 3-2 loss to Hibs on the weekend. It was the midfielder's first goal of the campaign in what has been a strong season as his side push for the Scottish League title to break up the duopoly of Celtic and Rangers. Now, keep up here because the Hearts-Hibs game, of course, is the Edinburgh Derby, but Martin Boyle played until the 84th minute and Jack Iredale played the full game in that Edinburgh Derby against Hearts. Going back to Cameron Devlin, he started in midfield as Hearts edged out Livingston 1-0. The midfielder completed 61 passes and made 8 tackles in his usual combative role in midfield. Ryan McGowan and Teti Yengi both started and played full games for Livingston in that one. Apostolos Stamatolopoulos was subbed on in the 72nd minute for Motherwell in their 1-0 win against Dundee FC. Johnny Katrumbas started and played 58 minutes, whilst Oscar Priestman was a late substitute coming on in the 87th minute. Apostolos Stamatolopoulos then came on in the 69th minute for Motherwell in a 1-0 loss to Rangers. Johnny Katrumbas started and made way in the 69th minute, whilst Oscar Priestman started and was subbed off in stoppage time in that one. Motherwell then produced a massive upset, beating Celtic 2-0. John Katrumbas played the full game, whilst Oscar Priestman got 84 minutes. Apostolos Stamatolopoulos was on the bench. Motherwell then beat St Mirren 2-0. Oscar Priestman played 18 minutes. Apostolos Stamatolopoulos was on the bench getting no minutes, whilst Johnny Katrumbas was not in the matchday squad. Also note that Keanu Bacchus hasn't been in the last couple of squads for St Mirren, so we will keep you updated once we find out news of that one, whether it is an injury or whether Keanu is on the move. Let's hope not, because it looked like he was settling into life back at St Mirren quite well. Now, rounding out the action in Scotland, Ryan McGowan played a full game for Livingston in their 4-2 loss to Celtic. Teti Yengi started and played 68 minutes. Livingston went down to Dundee United 3-1. Ryan McGowan played the full game for Livy, whilst Teti Yengi got 32 minutes off the bench. Zach Sapsford scored for Dundee United and played 74 minutes. Now let's head to Italy, where Alessandro Ciccarelli made his triumphant return from injury in spectacular fashion, contributing to a clean sheet in a full game for Parma in their 1-0 win over Fiorentina. He also wore the captain's armband in that one. He then backed it up, playing a full game for Parma in their 1-1 draw with Sassuolo, which could have been an interesting game if Christian Volpato started, but he did not. There is pictures going around on social media of the two exchanging jerseys after the game, which was a lovely sight. And maybe Ciccarelli can talk Volpato into wearing green and gold. Who knows? He can do pretty much anything else. Now to Germany. Jackson Irvine played a full game for St. Pauli as they drew 0-0 with Mainz. Conor Metcalf was on the bench for St. Pauli. The Bundesliga took its winter break and will return this weekend with St. Pauli taking on RB Leipzig. Now to Spain, where Matty Ryan played the full game for Levante in his side's 1-1 draw with Real Sociedad, the Socceroos captain making 5 saves to preserve a point for his team. All right, now staying in Spain and dropping down a division, Alan Mabil played 86 minutes for Castellon in a 2-0 loss to Cadiz. He then played 61 minutes as Castellon secured a 4-1 win against Esti Huesca. Let's head to the Netherlands, where Alan Rustic scored and assisted in an impressive 90-minute display for Heracles Alamello as they beat Vivi Hugeveen 4-1. He then played all of Heracles' 3-0 loss to SC Heerenveen. Jordan Bloss played a full game for Feyenoord in a 3-2 loss to SC Heerenveen in the Dutch Cup. Max Ballard played a full game for NAC Breda as they went down 1-0 to Telstar. The Eredivisie will resume in mid-January as they take their winter break. Now to Belgium, where a welcome return for Ryan Teague coming on in the 89th minute for his side, KV Mechelen, as they drew 1-1 with FCV Dender EH. Again, similar to the Netherlands, the Belgian league will return in mid-January after their winter break. Now to Serbia, where Miloš Degenek played all of TSC Baka Topola's 1-0 win against OFK Beograd. That is it for the weekly wrap. That was a big one. Catch your breath, and I'll join you for Players of the Week shortly. All right, Players of the Week time, and our Women's Player of the Week is Sam Kerr. A brilliant header from her in the second half proved to be the winner against Wolfsburg in the Champions League action. In the Champions League game. They won 2-1, of course, Chelsea, that is. She then scored a brace as Chelsea defeated Liverpool 9-1 to advance to the semi-finals of the League Cup. How about that for a scoreline? 9-1. You can see why Chelsea are near the top and Liverpool are near the bottom in the WSL. Kerr started before being withdrawn in the second half in that game. 3 goals in 2 games. Need I say more? I don't think so, apart from the fact that I think it's fair to say that Sam is back. Wonderful to see. As for our men's player of the week, it had to be Matt Ryan, as he put in a outstanding match-winning display for Levante, helping them beat Sevilla 3-0. During the match, Ryan made 7 saves, including a penalty save in stoppage time. And in fact, that penalty save was a double save, because not only did he save the penalty from the striker, the ball rebounded from the save and fell back to the striker, who headed towards goal, and Matt Ryan had to make a second save. Absolutely incredible stuff, and we will share that on our social media, that is for sure. All right, well, that is it for another week of the Aussie Football Passport. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Socceroos Year in Review that I did with Scott from the Brisbane Football Review. It's a really great episode. I quite enjoyed recording it. That was a big episode. Oof. It's a massive year ahead with the Asian Cup on home soil for our Matildas and the World Cup in Northern America for our Socceroos. I can't wait to keep you updated on all the players in contention for both sides. However, normal service will resume from next week. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.